You've got so many opportunities here. I know it's still crap and all that sort of stuff, but what I think the message we're trying to get to you...
It was great.
No, prison is crap.
That could be mine.
The point that I'm trying to carry over is to use every single second of a custodial sentence positively. I still think it's insane that whilst there are templates of good mentoring, a la Shannon Trust, trained mentor teaches illiterate prisoner to read. In my open prison, there were a couple of guys who'd worked engines all their lives, and there were 20 youngsters sitting around sunbathing. I find it insane that the Shannon Trust template of two guys who knew engines weren't spending their time teaching youngsters engines, because I'll wager for every 10 youngsters there was one very good potential engineer in the 10. It's these missed opportunities and missed chances that I believe are one of the reasons why we've got this awful failing prison system that we've got. Yet the good examples, Clink Charity, Bad Boys Bakery, Shannon Trust, etc., are showing that it does work. So Lenny talks about creative writing. David Kendall's here at the back. Give a wave, David. Who runs the reading agency. Tomorrow night is World Book Night. It is. So I ask you all, whilst you're in this library, grab a book that you wouldn't normally read and have a crack at it.
There's an interesting bit of Straight Outta Compton. Have you seen that film? Yeah. With Ice Cube and NWA, where they made a record called F the Police, right? And a lot of people go, well, how can they make a record like that? It's disgraceful. But what's interesting, when you see the film and you see where I've been to Compton, and it's like, the roughest ends you could possibly visit. The police are on the streets, there's helicopters overhead, people are getting slammed into police cars for doing nothing on their own street in front of their parents. When you watch that film and they reenact that, the way the police were behaving and the way they treated people, you realise that Ice Cube, as a creative person, has got every right to communicate how he felt about that situation. If you use your experience through creative writing to tell people your story, this is incredibly valuable, because people often don't know and they just think of you as a block. Sometimes you can just be thought of as a block of people who are a problem, whereas actually if you choose to tell your individual stories, you're helping people to understand who you are and where you come from and how you came to be where you are, and that's incredibly valuable to society. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's the thing we went to Restorative Practice, this award thing, there are people talking about, the label, victim, offender, and they're both terrified of each other in some way and don't understand something. The victim thinks that these horrible people out there coming from nothing, and the offender thinks, what have I done? I've just really... And putting them together, people, it's a kind of forgiveness, just explaining where you got to, when you got to. I thought it's incredible. There are people on stage. There was a guy who took an award. He said, "This is for my victim."
Yeah, that was very moving.
And it doesn't change the past, because what's happened has happened, but may change the future.
Just give you a little bit of backdrop. I've been in prison 8 years. I was a naughty boy before. I've got a degree in economics and mathematical sciences. Now, I have a friend who was studying the same time as me, who was in prison together. He managed to graduate the same time as me. Both got a 2-1 BA honours. Fine. He got released, tried to get a job that was relevant to his qualifications, got knocked back after knockback after knockback. After about 18 months, he gave up, done an armed robbery, shot a person, the guy died. He's in jail for murder now, doing 32 years.
So if he'd been accepted, that guy might be still.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is there a list of employers that
prisoner friendly.
that are prisoner friendly? Is there a list of those?
Apparently so, but
At
not
different
readily
levels.
available.
At different levels, though.
Find them in a job centre.
Yeah. Timpson's leads the way.
Timpsons.
James Timpson.
But what about if you're qualified like this geezer and you?
Then good point. And this is what we need to flag.
So my question more specifically to Lenny is, when you were younger and you was growing up in Dudley, all the kind of knockbacks that you had that was maybe industry related, how did you overcome that?
Well, most of the, I won a talent competition when I was 16, so the period where I probably would have been causing trouble and stuff, I was learning how to do my craft. But when I got in the industry, most of the things I had to deal with were institutional racism. Things where, not just racism, but also class. I'm from a working class background, so everything was about, I didn't know enough, I wasn't experienced enough, I was black, so I couldn't possibly do this particular job. And so all of my things were to deal with these things with humour. I also, and this is going to be weird, but I wasn't scared to ask for help at any time. So I gravitated towards people that I thought might be a mentor towards me. So if there was a possibility to be mentored by somebody I thought knew, so if I was in with a helicopter pilot and I wanted to fly a helicopter, I would go to that guy and say, well, how do you fly a helicopter then? And they would talk to me. And anybody who is mentor-like, it seems to me, they're incredibly free with their information. They want to tell you how they got to where they are. And I became a better comedian by talking to the comedians that I really liked. So if I was in a show with Frank Carson or with Stan Boardman, the Germans, or any of those guys, I would then go out and eat with them and say, so how did you do it? How did you get your chops? How did you get good? And it's about weathering the harsh times, the hard times. You can overcome them, and it's a brutal road sometimes trying to learn and get through, but you can get through. And I just sought out people who could help me. That's how I did it. This must not go out on the BBC.
So what is, maybe you guys, people get very proud, and they're very proud when they think they've done something wrong, because they switch between, I can cope with everything, so I'm completely to blame. And I bet a lot of time happens with you guys. You think, it closes down, you think, I'm going to go out, I'm going to be better. Oh no, nobody's helping me. And you close down, you get down, and you return. Ask for help. That's what Lenny's saying.
Yeah.
Go to people like John. And I'm sure you're being macho and strong by not asking for help, but be stronger and ask for help.
With saying that, the scenario of being in a bail hostel, like in an area that you frequented before and did crime, when your time comes to go to that bail hostel and you're telling your probation officer, you know what, I'd rather go somewhere else, they don't tend to send you somewhere else. They send you back to the nest where you reoffend, and then you can do something like go to work and then be late for an appointment and then end up back inside for 28 days at least. And then all your avenues to get it rectified are closed on you, and then you end up doing more than your 28 days. There are certain, loopholes for probation and pits for people that need to be covered up. And when I mean covered up, I mean mended. Yeah, and there's certain things out there that's just not mended.
You see, you explain it so well. You put that down on a piece of paper, send it out, get it out, the message. I completely understand what you're saying. It seems a bloody scandal. But
the system doesn't work. The systems don't change unless solutions are put forward. The best arguments, I think, are solution-based arguments. So even if you think it's a stupid idea, it would be better if they didn't send you back to where, even if it was something that seems blatantly obvious to you, if you can articulate that and say, I think it would be better if they didn't do this, and let somebody know about it, somebody could read that and go, actually, that's why do we do that?
Talking of a common sense change, quick question for you all. Can you all stick a hand up if you're doing some form of education here? Right. Yeah, me too, in fact, yeah. On the Today programme this morning on BBC Radio 4, Prisoners Education Trust were on, talking about the common sense of having a controlled internet service within the prison estate. In this prison, Lenny, each and every guy has a computer in his room where they can sort out their visits, they can sort out what they'd like to eat for the next couple of weeks, they can book a doctor's appointment, etc. Going back to mischances in prison, and I'm not criticising this prison, I'm criticising the management who decide what goes on or doesn't go on in prisons. I think it is insane that you don't all have access to a controlled internet service, not where you can put rude things on Facebook or look at boobs and bums on page 3, but where you can be using the time to study.
But the whole point is
Do you not agree with that, sir?
I think if it's
Be kept like a parental guide.
yeah, I think if it had some kind of guidelines on it, then why wouldn't you do that?
Bearing in mind, not just this prison, but other prisons have spent all the money to have this equipment in each room anyway. I believe the system's called the intranet.
Yes, it's just
Control.
internal where you
Yes.
don't need the
Well,
outside.
even if it was Encyclopedia Britannica, it would be a
You
start.
can put on the
The point
internet.
the point is that it's an Oracle-based system anyway, so it's very, very easy to program it, to recognise even key words when people are writing the wrong things on their emails and things. We're allowed to have emails sent in to us here, but they go to the office and the office print them out on a piece of paper and then deliver them once a week.
We've got to win the confidence of the politicians who run the show.
Yeah, but
and
you can
I'm not
legislate.
asking for you to be, or anyone, to be able to immediately send an email in response. What I am asking is that if you're, instead of watching, because I remember prison was EastEnders, Emmerdale, Coronation Street, EastEnders, Emmerdale.
still the same.
And you had youngsters, I remember talking to one youngster who wants to be a fireman. Why on earth didn't the system allow him to study in his room, reading about whatever it is that firemen read about? And I'm not being flippant. Again, missed chances, lack of thinking out of the box. The existing prisons minister, who's a gentleman called Andrew Selous, or Selous, forgive me if I'm saying that wrong, was recently in a London prison handing out some awards, something connected with the Evening Standard, for supporting ex-offenders and current prisoners. And Mr. Selous said, quote unquote, "We need more risk-taking, innovative governors." Now, Mr. Gove of late has said he's starting to think about giving governors power of their own prisons, deciding who's going to provide the catering, who's going to provide the education, who's going to provide the healthcare. Great, if it works. But let's start seeing common sense happening in prisons and every single moment of a custodial sentence being purposeful and productive. I don't know whether you guys know, I don't know whether you know this, Lily, but purposeful activity in prison has only risen 1% in the last 4 years.
So basically what you do all day.
You see here, like 100%, this is the best jail, like local BCAT.
I agree.
I've seen more opportunities here, and if you're gonna get stuff done here, yeah, like if you want things to change, probably here's probably the best place to get it done. But and you want to make change, because in HMP, like see all of this now would never get done. See here, I know there's a lot of opportunities, yeah. So I'm saying this is a good, like this is a good prison. Do you understand what I'm saying? But at the same time, it hasn't been open that long. Like it's only been open what, 4 years?
2012, I think.
Yeah. So it's just like I think things are starting to happen, but you know, like.
What do you do? I mean, all day. What can I just ask you what your kind of daily regime is?
Well, I'm going to the gym. If you're on the CCAT side, the door's open all day and you just do nothing.
Just do what you just.
Because
Sit.
there's not enough. There's more prisoners than there is education and jobs. So people that want jobs, for instance, can't get jobs because there's not enough jobs to go around for people. So it's
So you just sit around watching TV.
Nah, some of us study. Some of
Yeah, I was going to say.
like
like,
I've
it's
got a
like you
job,
get
but
10
then not everybody can get a job.
You get about 10. You get 10 sessions of work a week, like average. Monday, morning or afternoon. So you get 5 out of 10 sessions. You know, it's all mixed up so that the other half can have a chance to work as well. And then at the weekend, you're out all day, like, you know, for a bit of what's called association.
But these qualifications ain't gonna help some of us when we get out, you know. I did a barbering course. I was on it like 3 months, yeah. And I'm telling you, I love the course, yeah. But it's just not long enough, and I couldn't use that when I get out because I'm not trained enough. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's just like being able to do the courses a bit longer and things that are actually going to be purposeful when we get out
So,
there.
hang on a second, that's a good thing. Extend the levels so that people can do more.
And it's a good investment, isn't it? Because it just will stop people coming
Yeah,
back.
it is. I
It's
think
short term.
It's no good. It's no good just learning to peel potatoes. You got to learn how to cook the rest of the things as well. Or did level 1 or learn how to peel potatoes?
But anyway, it was about the hero. He was playing Frank Watt. What? There's the joke. A lot of jokes about that. Was a life for double murder. Now I thought I'd get all these people. What, you're humanising this guy has killed, taken 2 lives. You know, how dare you? You know, it's going soft. There was not one whisper of a complaint like that. And I think the public's mind from that tabloid. It helps. Like several tabloid journalists have been locked up recently. That's what I wondered, because I could actually see one of my books on that top shelf.
I think that's the one that you could see one of the tabloid journalists.
I noticed the Sun after that had a header to changes for manifesto for the next government was we should reform prison. It should be more about rehabilitation and resettlement. which is very interesting. So I think that the public's sort of attitude is changing a bit.
But certainly the lifers I met in my open prison were the most sensible people you'd meet anywhere, because they were the one-time, one-only offenders who had something awful had happened and they'd gone mad for 1 minute, and they were good as gold. What struck me was in my first prison, which was Bedford, was meeting the youngsters, aged 21, who were serving their 9th sentence. And it's like, I started thinking, hang on a second, you've been here 9 times and you ain't got it yet. So somewhere, something ain't working.
That's me you're talking about.
All right. How old are you?
Yeah, 22. But
Okay.
And how many sentences have you done?
I've done about 15.
Right, so I hope Mr. Gove's tuning in.
All world people saying, yeah, we need to change the system, this and that, whatever, but nothing's ever done. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's just like I'm fed up with hearing people going, yeah, we're going to change this and that, whatever. It just, nothing changes. Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're moving into Q&A, naturally, which is great. Yes, sir, go ahead. What's your name?
I'm Paul.
Paul, hi.
Hiya. My situation, I think, with everybody in prison is, we, like you just said, we hear that we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but the problem is, people that are trying to run the prisons have never been in prison. So the problem is, they don't get it from a prisoner's side. We need to do this, we need to give education. I came away in 2011, beat somebody up quite badly. I'm not proud of it. Done 18-month sentence, served 9. In that 9 month, I got IT level 1 and 2, business and finance degree, through prison, forklift truck driving licence, a basic manual handling skills and construction skills course. It got me a job. You know, I came out as a forklift truck driver for 2 different companies and I came away recently because I slipped back into what I would say comfort zone and came back to jail. Now, at the end of the day, yes, I'm back in jail, but there's not a lot now besides Shannon Trust that I do and being a painter and decorator around the prison that I can do, because everything that I've got in this prison to do, I've already done. Right. So now I'm stuck. So now I've only got a short sentence, 8 months, 4. So it's very little. But it's still 4 months out of my family's life, my life, that I'm never going to get back. And I can't do anything to make it better, because I'm now stuck with the courses that prisons right around the country seem to do. And I've done them all. And I'm like, okay, so I'll just sit here for 4 months and do nothing. I'll read a book. I'll write a letter,
Do some creative writing.
Yeah, like Lenny, so Lenny said, you know, that doing something like that would be great. But the problem is people from outside don't understand prison. They do this, do that. Prisons are, excuse the pun, shit. You know,
Which of course they're not.
They're not, you know, and you can't do anything. But they don't understand it. If they had one night in prison to see how uncomfortable the beds are, for example, what it feels like to be taken away from your freedom, how it mentally scars you knowing your children are out there, you're in here. Don't get me wrong, it's our own fault.
Yeah.
But to understand what life as a prisoner is like yourself, when you've done that 17 odd weeks, you understood in that first couple of weeks, you went through every single type of emotion possible that God could give you.
Most of it was absurdity. I couldn't believe it.
But you felt like you was losing your mind. You felt like you was losing your mind. But outside, they don't get it because they've not done it. And they need to do it to understand it, to be able to progress it, in my eyes.
Go ahead.
So the last thing, I just want to say one quick thing here. Just imagine the prison population's what, I think 90,000, yeah? Like, to me, this is just another council estate, because if 90,000 of us were out in the community, where would we all live, yeah? What jobs would we have? Because you've got about 800 people applying for one job, yeah? And they expect us, like, everyone to stop committing crime. Some people are brought up on council estates with no hope, like, kids are having kids are killing kids, like, life imprisonment. It's just like, what hope is there for the new generation, though? That's what I think, personally, yeah?
I think if you really got under the skin of all prisoners, and certainly I was aware of this, that you heard some really horrific histories of their lives, certainly within young people. But I've never really sort of gone down that road, because whilst I totally understand that the childhood and upbringing of some individuals have resulted in them being in prison, I'm just focusing on whether wrongly or rightly you've ended up incarcerated, and I do believe a great many of inmates shouldn't be in prison but in some facility which helps with mental health care. But that's another story. Going back to my thing is that whilst we've got people in custody, I want to be doing a great deal more with them. I believe rehabilitation should start the moment a custodial sentence starts. Whilst a totally get this through the gate stuff and mentoring afterwards. So Lenny was talking about a facility he saw. I mentor 10 ex-prisoners, 2 lifers. The lifers are the easy ones. It should start the moment you arrive. When I arrived in H&P Bedford on July the 25th, 2011, and sat down on my bunk bed reading the induction paperwork, every page had a spelling mistake. It's on my website. I remember sitting on my bed with a very good Fletcher to my Gobber cellmate. My goodness, did I land on my feet. Sitting on my bed, reading this induction paperwork, thinking I was being filmed because it was just spelling mistake, spelling mistake, spelling mistake. And the penny that evening began to drop that, hang on, rehabilitate. I thought this place, we're all here to be punished, but I thought this place was here to rehabilitate us too. And from then on in, it was just absurdity after absurdity after absurdity. Sir, a question for Sir Lenny.
Why not? Yeah, well, to all of you. You talk about rehabilitation a lot, right? And I just want to know what you mean by that. Like when someone comes into jail and you start the rehabilitation process. Now, I'm not ashamed of it, but I'm ashamed of it, but I've been in and out for so many years as well. And I'm one of them people who always sort of like had some big hopes prior to getting released. I've got missus and kids, well, I did have missus. And I'd get out and with all intentions of trying to get like a decent job, say. And the only thing that was always holding me back, if it was like, sort of like saying there was London Underground or something, is because of my criminal record. That was always holding me back every time, right? So I had to resort to labouring jobs, or some of the odd painting decorating course or something like that, and that would sort of pay for me flat. Do you know what I mean? The money from that would pay me flat, pay me food and that. And then I'd lose one of those things, like I couldn't pay the hours in, say, do you know what I mean? And then I'd lose my job because I'm back out on the street again. And then I'd have to revert back to what I knew best in the past, which was, breaking into shops. And I find myself back in jail again now. When I say rehabilitation, I don't know what that means.
Just like Red at the end of Shawshank. You'd be familiar with the film Shawshank Redemption? Yeah. Rehabilitation, it's a bullshit word, so someone like you can have a job and wear a suit. To answer your question, and then I'll let Sir Lenny put his pen.
Ask me, I don't know what to do. It strikes me that you guys are so bright. What's interesting about a lot of this is they have this thing called emotional intelligence and street smarts. And the thing is, with the use of creative writing and opening up about your experiences, you could be a big part of rewriting what your future is about. You need to take it into your own. You need to write about it. You need to think about what would make it better, how to utilize the experience. Because unless you tell people what you want to do, you're always going to have posh people telling you what to do. If you were to kind of get together and write a manifesto about the changes you require, I'm pretty sure you would find through geezers like him that they could get the message to the right people. But unless the people say something, look, this is where we are, this is our experience, this is what's happened to me over and over again, this is where I come from. For me to get better and for me to earn a decent living, this is what I need. I think that if you could provide that in a document, that might go some ways to changing your, even if it was this much, that's better than where you are now.
Can I ask you a question? So when you go for a job, and you've got a record, and is that never discounted? There's not a rehabilitation offender. So some jobs have a criminal record check and some don't.
You've got, depending on what sentence you've done. Yeah. And because I'm doing over 2.5 years, that exempts me from the Rehabilitation of Offenders Act. So I can never apply for a job, say that asks for a criminal record. Potentially at the end of that, you're just never going to get it.
And is that many sort of clerical or anything beyond manual labour? Most of the a lot of jobs got this criminal.
See the underground now though, they don't discriminate. The underground, they don't discriminate. But I understand what
a
you're
bit
saying.
like the pockets of good work going on in prison, there are pockets of companies out of prison doing their best to employ ex-offenders. James Timpson, who runs the shoe repair shops on pretty much every public street throughout the country, says that his ex-offender employees are some of his best workers. And it's really helpful when organisations such as Timpson's sing out to the public that prisoners can turn their lives around, they can do an honest job, 9 till 5, and they're bloody good workers. Because he says the guys who have been in prison who work for him are so glad to have been given the opportunity. They go that extra mile.
But see, doing my job, I'm 22. He knows as well. We talk to some of these. We talk to some of these young adults, 18, 19-year-olds, and it's just like when I come to prison when I was younger, there were so many guys that sat there and said to me, "Theo, look, I don't really want to be involved in this gang stuff anymore." And I used to say to them, "But you can get out of it, you know. So you can get out of it." And then years later, I've seen probably about 10, 15 of them. 5 of them are probably dead, and probably 10 of them are probably doing life, yeah? And I'm sitting there thinking, like, these guys are 18 and they're coming in the door now, again, yeah? And they're saying to me, "Phil, I don't want to be involved in this." And I'm saying, listen, like, you can make a difference. You can change when you get out, yeah? It's just what you do. Believe in yourself. Forget about everyone, yeah? Move out the area if you have to. Yeah, but it's not as simple as that. I know it's not simple, yeah? But what I'm basically trying to say to you, yeah, it's just like, see for like these young adults, I think we need to put in more, like, to help them, energy to help them. Because I'm not being funny, killing someone, you're not just taking your life or their life, you're taking your life, your family's life. It's a ripple effect. And it's just like there's a career for everyone out there, whether it's...
You know what? The most frustrating thing is the fact that a lot of these people are special, and I don't think they see it. That talent-wise, or they might have a certain angle on something that you wouldn't, and you think, well, you're gifted for this thing. Like, why don't you take that and utilize it? But they fall to the wayside because of this. Do you know what? I don't want to blame the system because it's a bit more than that. Yeah, but because of certain conditions, we're in this spiral, and it's quite frustrating.
Yeah. Somebody said default position earlier on. It's easy to fall back into what you did, isn't it? It's easy to go back into bad habits, and everybody's done that. We've all done that. It takes bravery to change, and I think that as long as you recognise that to change, to go back, to move out of the area, to ditch the negative influences, to try and do something else, it does take bravery, but it's not impossible. But it's almost like you've got to surround yourself with people that you think, these are my hero people, they're going to be positive and they're going to help me do this. But you do have to find the mentors, the allies that are going to help you do that. That just as you've got allies in your ends who are going to help you do negative stuff, there must be people, and there might be people that you have to go out and find who are going to support you in moving forward in a positive way.
There is a great organisation called the St Giles Trust. They are as well known as Catch-22, obviously different remit, and they are like the Rolls-Royce of post-prison mentoring and support and stuff like that.
Creative writing is a brilliant thing. I've changed my life because I have ideas, and I've learnt to glue my arse to a seat and write them to their full conclusion. I used to make lots of lists before, but now I actually sit down and I write. I did my I was kind of incarcerated in the summer season with the Black Hawk Minstrels, and yeah, I did my time. I was all right. I got out of there all right. But
For good behaviour.
but in the course of it, I did my O levels, my GCSEs. I was so bored and so frustrated and so down and depressed about my life at that time. So I decided to take my O levels, and it was the best thing I ever did. Then at another time in my life, my mum passed away, 1998, and I went off the rails myself a bit. It's pretty well documented, and I'm not going to go into it now, but it involves some shit. It was in the papers, and I decided I was going to do Open University. And if you've got access to Open University here, if you can take a course or anything, I'll recommend it. They have an on-ramp where you can start at the bottom and work your way up. It's a brilliant thing, the Open University. You can do it. You can study by computer. They have a fantastic syllabus. They send you loads of things. And because I'd only done my O levels, I felt like I couldn't do it, and that I wasn't up to it. But actually, because they teach you bit by bit and slowly, and it takes 6 years, I got a degree in English, and there was no way I was going to get a degree in English the normal way, because I've got a job and I don't have time. But actually, this allowed me to study in my own time. So the degree in English was the beginning of me becoming my own person. And I think that what you want And all of these things, being a chef or working as a gardener or being a builder or labourer, I met some guys who'd been in Arnley prison who are now working on a building site, and they just want to work and they're having a great time and they're just doing things with their hands and they know it's the right thing to be doing.
But I mean, I could guarantee, like we talked about work and that obviously earlier, that everybody in this room, if we could work Saturdays, we probably would. Because we're so bored of a weekend. You get up at 9 o'clock, the door opens, and we can't do nothing. Yes, yes, Neil.
How did it feel when you became Sir Lenny Henry?
Yes.
Okay, this is
Are you, sir? I thought
News of the world. That's a weird question.
Good question.
Felt great. My mum would have been really chuffed. It's really weird coming from where I come from and to be knighted, you know, because Jamaican, working class, poor, all that kind of stuff. But I remember my mum's face when I did the Royal Variety. She wanted to sit near the Queen, so we got her a seat in the balcony. The Queen was sitting there, my mum was sitting there, and she had a smile on her face for the whole thing. And I just thought she would think this was amazing. And she's no longer here, but I thought if she was here, she'd be wearing this hat like this, where everybody would be like that, trying to see around my mum's hat. So I just thought I'm going to do it, and it was great on the day. And my family came, my daughter was there, and that was the most important thing. And what's great about it is to come from where I've come from and to end up there was amazing. So that's how it felt.
What would your
felt good.
What would your mum say if you rang her, if she was still with us, you rang her up this evening and said, I've spent the afternoon in prison talking to the lads? What would she say?
She was never surprised by where I ended up.
She said, "But they let me out."
I come out the other end though. She always encouraged me to kind of have broad experiences. She wanted me to do things like this. She was very interested in education, and she was very interested in people. And she said the world isn't just made up of one kind of person. You know, you got to walk street with various people. So that's what the deal is. And I think that the minute you get bored, something's telling you that something has to change. So I would use anytime you're here and you feel bored, you can switch, do something else, read, figure out something else. I wanted to learn how to do something else. So I decided that I wanted to do a radio show about Shakespeare because Shakespeare was this thing. When I was doing my Open University degree, it was the word, I hated it because it just felt like posh white people in tights with a cabbage down their front, speaking with a lisp, and it was always posh white people. And I just thought, it's never, it's never to be or not to be. That is the question. It was always to be or not to be. And I just thought, why is that? And I did this documentary about why isn't Shakespeare for everybody. And actually, when I talk to people like Adrian Lester and Patterson Joseph and Judi Dench and all of these people, they all said, well, Len, Dredge, you've got to kind of explore it and work on it and see how it feels when you speak it. And after about 3 or 4 goes at this radio show, I decided that I wanted to play Othello, which is one of the greatest tragedies ever written. And I'd had no experience. I hadn't been taught Othello at school, but somebody told me I could do it. And what I would say to government is, when somebody tells you that you should try something positive that will help you, that will benefit, you actually think, what you need is the support. You need a leg up. You don't need a handout, you need a leg up.
Exactly.
So when you've got the support and you're going to try something, you're going to jump off the cliff, actually all you need is somebody behind you going, yeah, go on, have a go. And, I know that works in a negative way as well, because when you're on street and people say that, you can end up in some weird places. But when you make the decision to do something positive and you've got all your people around you saying, you can do that. And I was very lucky because I had friends and family who said, why wouldn't you do Othello? Why wouldn't you try and do theatre? And I'd never done theatre. Suddenly I'm there in rehearsals, scared shitless, but willing to have a go. Because my friends say, fail again, fail better. It's all right, at least you're having a go. And I think going forward from where you are, if you know that it's all right to fail, but move on, fail again, and then fail better, and then maybe you'll have a little bit of success, that's a pretty good way to go, Success doesn't happen like that. It happens after loads and loads and loads of goes.
Yes.
I was going to say, when my mum was younger, I'm from Milton Keynes, and it was quite a white area when my mum was younger. And you came and did a show in Milton Keynes, and all through my childhood, whenever there was something to do with like comedy or something, first thing she would mention was, I saw Lenny Henry when I was younger, straight away. And as soon as I told my mum that I was coming, she sent me the photo of you meeting her.
No way!
Wow,
look at it.
good man.
Let's see if I'm snogging your mum. Oh no, I'm not. Thank God for that. That's lovely.
Where was that?
Milton Keynes, man,
I went to see Milton.
near the Dave Clark 5 estate.
You haven't changed a bit.
No, I haven't. No, look at me. I think that life experience counts, and I think interests count. So I think if you're interested in doing something and you work hard enough, you'll do it. You'll succeed in it, and you've got to believe in yourself. And I had years and years and years of being scared of theatre because I felt like it wasn't for me. You know, it was like a magician had hidden how to do it behind a big curtain. And actually, once you pull the curtain back and you see that it's learning, memorizing lines, it's how to use your body, it's how to use your voice, and you work with a good director helping you and guiding you, you can achieve anything you want as long as you put the work in. Nothing happens without hard work. Nothing happens without some kind of conflict. Actually, the more I've found in a rehearsal room or in a learning situation, the more you argue about things, the better it is, because you've really thought and you've really argued with what it is you're trying to achieve. And as an actor, it's no good just being in a room and just accepting stuff that people say. You've got to engage with it and go, well, actually, when I did this, you know, your life experience counts. So actually, you can achieve anything you want going forward because of your interests and because of your determination to succeed. And I had to put aside years and years of prejudice against my class and against my education and against being a comic to have the bravery to go forward and go, well, I'm going to do this serious role, and all right, I'm scared, but what else am I going to do? I'm 50. It's time to do something else now. And when you decide that it's time to do something else, you watch.
So Lenny, I just wanted to ask you this question. When you sit here in this room and reflect on your life and some of the ups and downs you've had, do you think that actually you could be sitting here listening to someone else?
Easy. Yeah. Because I came from an area where, like I say, I went to a sink school in my head teacher described it as a pretty racist area. And there were some bad boys at my school, and it would have been easy to do the things they did, shoplifting and, you know, going on the rob and things like that. But I had a very strict mom. You probably know that about me. She hit me with a frying pan in the face one time. She threw a chair at me like we were in a Western one time, and she caught me. The chair went round the corner. I don't quite know how she did it, but literally, it was like the cup, bang, in the face. She hit me, and my dad did do that look, you know.
Not getting up.
And he would say things like "you go on," and it was like I knew that it was. So I had a very, very, very strict upbringing. So I kind of think that when you're, it's to do with how you're brought up, but it's also to do with who you hang out with. And I think that I could easily be here, which is why I'm here.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Lenny, are you okay to do a bit of signing here?
No, I'm not signing shit. Not without my lawyer. I need my lawyer present. I need some witnesses. I ain't signing anything.
He wants to spend a night in here. He was saying just now he was going to try.
Yeah, of course I'll sign stuff.